This quiet, peaceful, beautiful nature park is home to numerous springs, thousands of wild plants and animals, including rhesus monkeys. It's hard to imagine that this state park used to be a bustling tourist attraction, drawing thousands to Central Florida. Let's dive into the rise and fall of Silver Springs State Park and bring the past into the present. Florida is home to some of nature's most breathtaking wonders, and Ocala is no exception. The springs of Florida feed water up from the limestone aquifer to numerous rivers and streams across the state, with Silver Springs being the largest artesian spring in the U.S. At the time of its statehood in the 1820s, the Silver River and many of its sister rivers in central Florida became a draw for adventure seekers. Not only that, it became a source of distribution as plantations popped up along the banks, growing anything from vegetables to tobacco to oranges. 50 years later, an entrepreneur named Philip Morel had the idea of putting a pane of glass at the bottom of a rowboat, and the famous glass-bottom boats were born. At the same time, with the growth of Central Florida, the Silver Springs, Ocala, and Gulf Railroad went into operation, transporting people and goods from the river landing on the head spring to nearby Ocala and beyond. This caused the popularity of the springs to rise, and in the 1920s, W. Carl Ray and W.M. Shorty Davidson developed the land at the head of the springs into Silver Springs Nature Theme Park, featuring native animals, exhibits, amusement rides, and the glass-bottom boats, taking guests on either a 30 or a 90-minute ride. Anyone who's ever been on one of these glass-bottom boat tours knows that beginning in 1916, Hollywood began using this location for filming. Movies such as The Seven Swans, Tarzan, and A Creature from the Black Lagoon were all filmed here on location, with scenes featuring Silver Springs. The TV show Sea Hunt was also filmed here. By now, the springs were truly becoming the destination in Florida. The famous herpetologist Ross Allen opened the Ross Allen Reptile Institute on land near the head of the springs. His attractions drew thousands of visitors alone. A couple years later, Colonel Toohey, who operated the Jungle Cruise boat ride, established on a small island in the Silver River the first troop of wild monkeys. There was only one problem. Rhesus monkeys are excellent swimmers and as such quickly swam off the island and spread out along the river. These monkeys are still seen throughout Silver Springs to this day. In 1932, the glass-bottom boats were equipped with electric motors, and in 1934, the Princess Donna was built and is still operational today on Jug Creek in Boquila, Florida. By 1950, over 800,000 people were visiting Silver Springs annually, but that number is only white visitors. A sister park was established in 1949 here on this location. Paradise Park was an African-American park with similar amenities. It lasted until 1969, 2 years after Silver Springs had been desegregated. On October 31st, 1962, a deal was made that could have had the makings of a Disney-type park. ABC Paramount purchased the property and over the next decade made strides to boost the Silver Springs brand. In 1971, the park was designated a National Natural Landmark, and 2 years later, a wildlife rehabilitation program was started at the park. In November 1974, Cyprus Island opened as an attraction, including a gift shop, 3 large wooden amphitheaters for reptile shows and animal exhibits, and my favorite thing, an open-air beer pavilion. In 1978, ABC Paramount opened a second park on the property called Wild Waters, but more to come on that on another video. In 2 decades under the ownership of ABC, the park had grown and shown no signs of decline. Its popularity couldn't be matched. However, with Disney being 2 hours away, it began to take a little bit of shine out of the Ocala area. In 1984, ABC sold Silver Springs to the Florida Leisure Attraction, who continued to grow the parks and added a 35-acre Jeep Safari in 1990. I'm walking on Creek Trail at the end of the park. It has an Animal Kingdom kind of vibe to it, and it makes you think if this would have been the Jeep Safari part of the park. It's just very peaceful, very serene. It's definitely that Animal Kingdom vibe. Now things begin to get confusing. In 1993, ownership of Silver Springs went to the state of Florida, but would continue to be managed by the Florida Leisure Attractions. In 1996, Ogden Entertainment took over park management and invested in a multi-million-dollar expansion, including attractions such as World of Bears, Ahoy Kids, and the Twin Oaks Mansion, which concluded in 1999. Park management continued to change hands throughout the early 2000s, but by this point, the park was beyond saving. Several factors contributed to the decline of Silver Springs. There was, of course, the Disney effect. Pollution in the Silver River was a big factor as animal populations decreased and the flow of water decreased. In a 10-year span, profits fell from 23.5% to only 5.3%. This led to the park not being able to maintain extra attractions. Some of the last safari animals died as well. On November 7th, 2011 and December 19th, 2012, Kimba and Kama, the last two giraffes, died. In April of 2012, Frank the Tank and Albatross Tortoise died at 100 years old after 40 years in the park. In January 2013, the state of Florida took over management of the park, and by September of that year, it was incorporated in the state park system. Today, Silver Springs still exists in a more natural state than it previously had. As you walk the grounds, you can think of some famous people who visited, such as former President Ulysses S. Grant in 1880, President Calvin Coolidge in 1920, and in 1999, the late great Steve Irwin. That does it for the video on Silver Springs. Thank you for watching. Please follow me on Twitter at PastAndPresent4, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again.